stunning story last night about Justin Trudeau from Time magazine, as in the American periodical, as in they broke a story that Canada's media party hasn't or wouldn't or couldn't do. In the more than 10 years Justin Trudeau has been an MP, the 4 years he's been Prime Minister. It's Trudeau in full blackface, as in painting his face black. Oh, and then there's the added detail of him groping a woman's chest in the same picture. But that's not even unusual for Trudeau, is it? It's unusual when he's in a photo with a woman he isn't groping. Now, this wasn't a picture dug up by a private investigator or hacked out of someone's cell phone. It was there in plain sight for decades in the yearbook of the elite Vancouver private school where Trudeau was teaching some 18 years ago. He was 29 years old then. He was a grown man. It's not ancient history, and it's not in the Deep South. It's not some Confederacy thing. He was a teacher at an elite school in Vancouver in 2001, and he thought it would be a hoot to go full blackface. Oh, and black hands. Look at them. You really don't see people going that deep into make-believe other than true nutcases like that white girl, Rachel Dolezal, who one day declared she was black. So this news landed like a thunderbolt last night, and then almost immediately, as soon as the Time magazine photo came out, so did another one, this time when Trudeau was himself a student. He was younger. It was also from a yearbook. He had blackface on and a wig. Now, how was it that the second photo came out from a totally different news outlet, not Time magazine, just hours after the first one came out? Well, obviously people had been holding on to it and decided to finally use it, as in these had been in the public domain for years. Those yearbooks were personally seen by thousands of people, and they were able to be seen by anyone who showed an interest, and no one reported on them, though reporters obviously had them. Why hadn't they shown those pictures before? During Trudeau's first campaign for public office as an MP, during Trudeau's campaign for party leader, during Trudeau's campaign as party leader becoming Prime Minister, how did none of these photos come to light in any of those moments of supposed accountability? That's a question for the political war rooms of Stephen Harper and Andrew Scheer to answer, but more to the point, it's for the CBC and CTV and Global News and the Toronto Star and the rest of them to answer too, which I suppose answers the earlier question of why it took Time magazine in the United States to break the silence. Because they're not bought off, not for $1.5 billion a year like the CBC is, not for $600 million like the newspaper companies are, not for the price of a $5 poutine like David Cochrane is.
For you, David. This is for you. No. For me? Hey, Liberal Party always supports the CBC.
Oh, who's going to taste it?
Who's that? We want to slow him down.
That's pitiful. Now, this happens all the time, actually, whether it was, that people kind comment, remember that?
Maternal love is the love that's going to change the future of mankind. So we'd like you to
we like to say people kind, not necessarily mankind.
It was the U.S. media that showed us that, or even that goofy water box bottle thing. Remember that one?
We have recently switched to drinking water bottles out of when we have water bottles out of plastic. Away from plastic towards paper, like drink box water bottles, sort of things.
Yeah, that wasn't covered by the Canadian media until it was covered by the American media. Some of these stories are big, some are trivial. They're not all important, but they all paint Trudeau in a negative light, which is their only commonality. It's the only constant in all the examples I could show you. And every single one of those stories was broken by foreign media from America, from the UK, from Australia, because Canada's media is compromised. It's a deep problem that's getting worse. I'm sure that several Canadian media outlets had that blackface picture, but just didn't want to embarrass their patron, Justin Trudeau, so they sat on it. Only Time magazine ran with it because they're not trying to suck up to Trudeau, and only that, being scooped by an American company, shamed the rest of Canada's media into following up. So Trudeau came out last night on his campaign jet and did a little scrum. He's done a lot of tearful apologies before over the years, fake tears, of course. He's a dramatic actor. He cries when asking for forgiveness for what other people have done. He specializes in apologizing for what other politicians did in the 1800s or 1900s even, but of course, he's not really apologizing when he does that. He's just virtue signaling about how much more morally superior he is personally than those people in eras past. He's so much more enlightened. He'll cry on command for the cameras because he's crying for you. He wants you to know that he's crying for you. He cares deeply about you and how you were hurt by someone else. And he's sad. But last night, no way, no tears. Here, let's listen to a bit of his ironic apology. There are some unbelievable moments in it, just total sociopathic tells. I won't play all of it, but I'll play some and comment along the way. So we got about 10 clips. Let's look at the first one.
In 2001, when I was a teacher out in Vancouver, I attended an end-of-year gala where the theme was Arabian Nights. And I dressed up in an Aladdin costume and put makeup on.
Makeup. I love that. Blackface is what it's called, but he said makeup because it sounds less awful. Here, watch some more.
I shouldn't have done that. I should have known better, but I didn't, and I'm really sorry.
Yeah, he was 29. He was a grown-up, and it was 2001. It wasn't the 50s. This wasn't that show, Mad Men, about how politically incorrect and racist and sexist American offices allegedly were back in the 50s. No, this was 2007, and Trudeau says he didn't know this was wrong.
I think there are people who've made mistakes in this life, and you make decisions based on what they actually do, what they did, and on a case-by-case basis. I think I deeply regret that I did that. I should have known better, but I didn't.
On a case-by-case basis, guys, don't be so mean. This is a rare thing, you know. It's not really who he is, folks, and he deeply regrets it, or at least I think he said he thinks he deeply regrets it, and he should have known better. So, yeah, that's it. Can we go back to what we were doing before? And then a reporter steps in to take the sting out for him, just to help him out a bit, by asking a question not about him and what he did, but a process question about some people somewhere who were obviously being mean to him, like at Time magazine or something.
How do you feel about this coming out right now in the campaign?
Is that really the number one question? That was the first question asked of Trudeau tonight. Not about the blackface itself, not about his misconduct, but about the timing and how it's obviously a mean trick on him. Get that Justin journalist a poutine, people. Surprisingly, Trudeau didn't even take that escape hatch. Take a look.
Obviously, I regret that I did it. It's not about timing. It's about having done something that I shouldn't have done, and I'm really sorry I did.
What a joke of a reporter it was who asked that first question. Here's the second question, and it's a bit better.
Have you
The only time you've done something like this, Mr. Trudeau, is that the only time in your life you've ever done something like that?
When I was in high school, I dressed up at a talent show and sang Deo with makeup on.
It was a good question, wasn't it? It was a clear question. Is that the only time you've done it? And the answer was equally clear. He did it one more time in high school, and he sang that song, Deo. The question was asked and answered. So there you have it. Justin Trudeau did it twice. There was another process question, someone looking to move away from what Trudeau did to, damn it, who leaked the news? Look at this.
Why is this coming out now?
Yeah, sorry, that's pitiful. Trudeau gave the same answer as he did the first time. Good for him, I guess. And then another good question was put.
Many in the United States, when they've been discovered of these sorts of things, they are asked to resign. Have you given thought to resigning?
I take responsibility for my decision to do that. I shouldn't have done it. I should have known better. It was something that I didn't think was racist at the time, but now I recognize it was something racist to do, and I am deeply sorry.
Okay, now, what does he mean by he takes responsibility? I mean, I would hope so. He was a 29-year-old man. He was a teacher of children. Who on else would take responsibility for what he did besides him? What a weird answer. But what does it mean to take responsibility for something? Just to say those words? I mean, that's how he always does it, though. He's being convicted 5 times of breaking the Conflict of Interest Act. And each time he just looks into the camera, and in his sexy pickup artist voice, he says, I take responsibility, and he moves on. But that's actually the opposite of taking responsibility, isn't it? And he didn't answer the question about resigning now, did he? Another good question, take a look.
To Amarjeet Sohi, to Harjit Sajjan, if you have any words to say to some of your staff who may find this offensive.
I have made a number of calls to friends and colleagues tonight, and I will have many more calls to make.
So he didn't say what he told his staff, did he? I know what he told his staff. You know. Forgive me and I will return the favor to you. Condemn me, as the Liberals have been condemning any Conservative who did anything with a whiff of intolerance, and we'll all sink in this campaign together. I bet there was some begging by Trudeau, some promises offered, some threats made, because all it takes is one person of character, one Jody Wilson-Raybould in the caucus or anywhere amongst the 338 Liberal candidates. All it takes is one person to speak honestly and the whole thing unravels. That is a lot of people he needs to beg and plead and threaten to keep him in line. Fortunately for him, the 2 principled women had already left the caucus, Jody Wilson-Raybould and Jane Philpott. What's left are the sellouts like this guy.
I don't believe that anybody has ever lived their lives without making an error or without making errors. The Prime Minister last night presented his apologies. He expressed his regrets. I think the real measure of the man, and the thing that I think that we need to be talking about, and I hope that you will be talking about, are all the amazing things which we've done for diversity, specifically for the Black Canadian community across this country.
Yeah, I got to tell you, Uncle Tom's Cabin was a cautionary tale, not an instruction manual. I guess Greg Fergus there was given a carrot and a stick, and he complied. He submitted, just like that young woman that Justin Trudeau was pawing back that day. I mean, you go along with Trudeau and you smile, and maybe a little bit of yourself dies inside, but you'll be taken care of. Look, he does it to 19-year-old girls. He did it to Bianca on her great day. He can do it to middle-aged MPs desperate for re-election even easier. Here's an independent question that he got.
Is
The
this going to
Conservatives
be
say
there?
you're not as advertised. How can you look at Canadians and tell them that's not true?
I have worked all my life to try and create opportunities for people to fight against racism and intolerance, and I can just stand here and say that I made a mistake when I was younger, and I wish I hadn't. I should have known better then, but I didn't, and I did it, and I am deeply sorry for it.
So again, sounds like he did it once, right? He used the singular. I can say I made a mistake, singular. I'll come back to that in a minute. There was another question, take a look.
Why should you be allowed to stay?
I'm going to be asking Canadians to forgive me for what I did. I shouldn't have done that. I take responsibility for it. It was a dumb thing to do. I'm disappointed in myself. I'm pissed off at myself for having done it. I wish I hadn't done it, but I did it. And I apologize for it.
Oh, he's mad, people. He's even madder than you are. You can't be mad. He's mad first. He's even swearing now. He's pissed off. Oh, boy, when he gets to the bottom of this, there will be heck to pay. Someone's going to be held responsible, I tells you. Yeah. There was another good question. Here, look.
You've known that this happened a long time ago.
I've been forthright when this has come forward, that it is something that I regret deeply having done.
The third time he was asked point blank, had it ever happened another time? And he said yes when he was in high school. And then he said it was a singular mistake. And then he said he's been forthright and told us everything. He's taken responsibility. He's one of the good guys here. And he said it again, just in case you missed it. Just watch it one more time.
Even though, obviously, I've made a mistake in the past.
Made a mistake in the past. One more question that's on point. The Liberal campaign has basically been a hurricane of smears against any racism, real or imagined, in the Conservatives. the CBC has been in perfect synchronicity with him. This incredible article by the government journalist Katie Simpson basically repeats Liberal war room talking points. Scheer approves bigotry because he forgave some mean tweets written by someone years ago. I mean, that headline there was just unbelievable. And here's a reporter noticing the difference between how Trudeau talks about intolerance in the Conservatives and his own. Take a look.
What is the consequence for a lot of your candidates? This would be at least calls for resignation.
This would be calls for important conversations with all those candidates and real taking stock in the path forward. And I'm having conversations with my colleagues, with fellow candidates, and I'm going to be continuing to having conversations with Canadians about this and about many other things that we're hoping to work together on positively.
Hey guys, he's having an important conversation right now, so can you just simmer down? He's taking stock on a lot of important things. That's not an answer, but there were a lot of buzzwords there. Lots of important positive responsibility taking going on, so just hush now. Now, someone asked about the groping. That is rare to see that kind of courage. It's still a weak ask the way it was put to him, but at least it was asked. Take a look.
The woman in the photograph, you're touching her in a very familiar way, depending on your relationship with her. Who was she and what was
She was a close friend.
Sure, did he say she was a close friend? She is a close friend? I can't quite tell. Do you really believe that the woman he groped was or is a close friend? Do you actually believe that? You know, he said the same thing about the Aga Khan, the Ismaili leader, to explain his free vacation on Billionaire Island. It was a lie. He hadn't talked to the Aga Khan in more than a decade. I like this question. Take a look.
Was this photo racist in your opinion?
Yes. Yes, it was. I didn't consider it a racist action at the time, but now we know better, and this was something that was unacceptable, and yes, racist.
Why didn't you tell people sooner?
I'm talking about it now.
Huh. Is that a good enough an answer? For months, for years, really, he's been smearing people as racist. When he's the racist one by his own confession, you heard him there say it was racist. Why didn't he clear the air before? Well, it's obvious, isn't it? Because he thought he'd keep getting away with it, as he did back then, as he has for the past 10 years of public life, the past 18 years since that one at the Point Grey School. Why on earth would he bring it up when the rest of the media didn't bring it up, and it took an American to bring it up? Are you nuts? Do you think Trudeau ever takes responsibility other than using those words when he's caught with his hand in the cookie jar? I love this one.
How are you going to explain this to your children?
I'm going to have a conversation with them tomorrow morning before they go to school about taking responsibility for mistakes we make, about living up every day to try and be a better person, and recognizing that when you make mistakes, you have to take responsibility for it. You have to own up for it.
You have to own up for it. Is that what he's doing? Is that what he did? Keeping it hidden for years, only grudgingly acknowledging it after pictures prove it? Last question.
You've mentioned the incident in high school, and we just found out about the photo tonight. Do you want to tell Canadians about any other instances where you were concerned that you were racist, or that you had blackface or brownface?
I think it's been plenty. The fact of the matter is that I've always, and you'll know this, been more enthusiastic about costumes than is sometimes appropriate. But these are the situations that I regret deeply.
So he said he'd take responsibility just minutes ago, but he's already sort of tired of that. I mean, come on, guys, it's not really racism. He's not that bad a man. You see, what does he have to apologize for other than he really likes costumes, guys? That's all that's going on here. He likes costumes. And when he said, like 5 minutes ago, it was racist, well, look, only if loving costumes is wrong.
Is it the only two, or are there more?
These are the situations I regret deeply.
So how many times did he confirm it was just the two instances? When he was a 29-year-old teacher, when he was dressed as Aladdin, and that time he was in school with the wig? Several times he said twice. It's all out there now. He's feeling better about his conscience. He's taken responsibility. He's owned up for it. And then, bam! Holy cow, another incident with video. This one published by Global News. So it's not when he was a high school teenager. It's not when he was a 29-year-old teacher. This video, it's somewhere in between, it seems, and it's a video. Oh, I thought he said it was just one mistake, or just the two mistakes. But then again, he did say this.
Do you want to tell Canadians about any other instances where you were concerned that you were racist or that you had blackface around racism?
I think it's been plenty.
Plenty? Okay, so he confessed to two, like about 5 times he said that, but then right after that third came out, the video, and all of this proof was before the era of ubiquitous smartphones, where everyone has a camera in their pockets. Imagine how rare it was for someone to actually have a camera on them, let alone a video camera 10, 20, 30 years ago. And yet, he was caught 3 times. Imagine how often he did that, to be captured 3 times. I mean, look, once, there's a lapse of judgment. He didn't know he was in high school. Twice, okay, maybe he got a bit of a moral blind spot, but 3 times. And you heard him, he said plenty more. I think we have ourselves, well, I'm not sure if I'd say a racist, though he said so. But like he is with women, he's a fake feminist. He uses feminist rhetoric in virtue signaling to hide the fact that he actually is deeply sexist and a bit of a groper to boot. I think he's that way about race too. He talks a good game about diversity, but as you know, his inner circle is as white as a polar bear. He mocks minorities, we know that, like he mocks Aboriginals in particular, we know that.
Thank you. Thank you for being here. Thank you very much for your donation tonight. I really appreciate the donation to the Liberal Party of Canada.
Those were the Grassy Narrows protesters. But I think far worse was actually that night of the boxing match against Patrick Brazeau. He said this. He said this. Do you remember this?
You know, we're both known for our long hair on the Hill. Let's say the loser gets a haircut. He resisted back a little bit, pointing out that hair has a cultural significance for First Nations peoples. And I said, I know, that's why I proposed it. When a warrior cuts his hair, it's a sign of shame. So it's very apropos.
He's got a problem, a blind spot, don't you think? That blackface hand-on-breast picture was bad. But in some ways, this one, I think in some ways this is worse. He's with 2 men who truly appear to be Sikh, and he's just staring them down. They might be thinking, who's this asshole? But he's having a staring contest with them. He's not going to blink. He's not going to confess that what he's doing is mocking them and diminishing them. He's going to go right after the 2 Sikh guys in the whole place and physically touch them and dominate them and stare them down just like he does to women. He dominates. He'll force them to make a scene or comply. That's the choice he gives every woman he gropes in public. Comply, or you'll be some overreacting hysterical woman. Comply, or you'll be some overreacting minority. Now, I think wearing blackface means, does it really mean that someone should resign from public office? Look, I don't make the rules, do I? Trudeau does. The media party does. We have seen many, many resignations for less, even in the past week. I'm not sure how I'd feel if I were black. Blackface isn't just a costume. It has greater political, cultural meaning, mainly in the context of U.S. slavery, but it's pretty universally regarded as racist, more even than wearing a turban that's when you're not Sikh. Let me help you through this. What if it had been Stephen Harper caught doing this? Not once, not twice, but 3 times, and he had hidden it for years. And then when he was caught, he only confessed to 2, thinking he'd get away with that. And then a 3rd one immediately came out, proving the confession and contrition to be a lie too. What would it have done to Harper or Trump? How would it go down for a foreign meeting between Trudeau and an African or Arabian or South Asian world leader? This is like Trudeau and feminism. He's blown himself up. And in a way, Canada too. Look, I'm not sure if blackface should disqualify a man from public office. I think we have too much of this cancel culture, this deplatforming culture, but I think lying about it is actually disqualifying for a world leader, not just the lie about how many times he did this, and Lord knows what else he's done, but the entire lie of his public beliefs that are clearly just a sociopath's deception to project his own sins onto his enemies and to preempt any accusations against himself. That's what I think.